is Kevin Carlson from Anglican TV, and I have on the other side of my camera Archbishop Munir Anis he's kind of the bishop of the Middle East and all of the Horn of Africa. What can you give me
I am the diocesan bishop of Egypt, North Africa, and the Horn of Africa.
That's right. Okay, I'm glad. I get that confused a lot. You have quite a geographical range. Speaking of Egypt, Egypt has been in the news here in America quite a bit recently with some of the tragedies that's happened to the Coptic Christians. Can you give me a little background to the crisis going on with the Coptic Christians?
Yes, it was a very sad event that happened in the first few minutes of the new year, 2011, when usually in different churches there would be a New Year Eve service. And in the Alexandria, there was a service, and as the people were going out, a bomb happened that killed 24 Christians and injured about 60 or 80 people. It was a very, very tragic situation that was condemned by the government and condemned by many Christians and Muslims who denounced this act in Alexandria. And it was like a very strange kind of attack. We used from time to time to have individual incidents like this, but not in this way, suicide bombings.
Yeah.
That's the first time.
I've been to Egypt before, and it's a very safe environment for
Yes,
Christians to travel.
yes.
Until recently. This is not a norm for Egypt at all.
That's right. That's right.
Tell me what a Coptic Christian is. What we hear that phrase here in America, and people say that's just Christians in Egypt. It's much more than just that.
Yeah, the Coptic Orthodox Christians who live in Egypt are part of an Eastern Orthodox, Oriental Orthodox family. So the Coptic Orthodox in Egypt, it's a big church, about between 8 and 10 million people, the biggest church in the Middle East. The Patriarch in Alexandria consecrated the Patriarch in Ethiopia and in Eritrea, and they are part of the Syrian Orthodox and the Armenian Orthodox family with the Ethiopian and the Eritrean. So they are a big family, and they are faithful people. They are faithful. They hold the scripture since 61 AD until today.
All right. Yeah, that's quite a while. That's back to St. Mark, right?
Yes, that's
Wow,
right.
It's a long time ago. Let's cover some more recent events here. Next week in Ireland, there's a primates meeting. You're a primate, and you're one of 10 who've chosen not to attend. You don't want to call it a boycott, but what are your reasons for not attending this?
I think the main reason is in the previous primates meeting, we made recommendations regarding those who violated the moratoria, that they should not be present in Anglican Council. And we specifically give a warning to the Episcopal Church in America that if they did not abide with the moratoria, there will be consequences in regard to their participation in the Anglican councils. Now, they have been saying things and doing other things until they consecrated Mary Glasspool, a one who is actively live in homosexual relation. And this was violating the moratoria for the second time. The first time was Jean Robinson. This is the second time. And as a result of this, Archbishop Rowan Williams suspended their membership in the ecumenical gathering, and also suspended their membership in the IASCAFO, which is the theological commission of the Anglican Communion. So they became a non-voting member. And we felt that the previous recommendation, especially in Dar es Salaam and in Dromantine 2005, that they would voluntarily withdraw, or they should be suspended, should be followed through, and should be carried out. And failure to do this would make a new meeting meaningless. If we just sit and talk and decide things and don't carry them out, it will be meaningless.
There was a big contrast between Dar es Salaam and Alexandria.
Yes.
In Dar es Salaam, you guys put together a communique
Yes.
that said, the Episcopal Church has done this, the Episcopal Church needs to do this, or
Yes.
they're no longer in the communion.
Yes.
In Alexandria, there was nothing like that at all.
In Alexandria, we stressed that the moratoria, gracious restraint, and we said the Archbishop suggested that he will have special visitors, which I don't know what happened with this suggestion. So we were waiting in Alexandria for something, what's going to happen next. And the ball in Alexandria went to the Archbishop of Canterbury, so it was in his court to do things. So that's why we really waited to see what's going to happen.
Now, there's been some suggestion that you shouldn't go because the end is already decided. You know,
Say this again.
you shouldn't. There's no reason to attend because what's going to happen has already been decided. Somebody said cooked soup. The soup has been cooked.
I think we actually were not aware of the agenda until recently. We kept asking. We did not in any way participated in putting the agenda together, because this is a primates meeting. It's not the Anglican Communion Office or Canterbury Office meeting. It is all the primates meeting, and some kind of consultation needed to happen to find out what we are going to do in this. Any big meeting like this would need a lot of preparation, and we didn't see this preparation actually happen whatsoever. So we felt that it will not be a fruitful meeting. Number one, because we didn't respect the previous recommendation. Number two, we were not consulted whatsoever in the agenda and in what's going to happen. So that's why we asked that it would be postponed until we accomplish this and work so that we can go at least knowing what we are going to decide, or a kind of consensus or agreement to do it. But to have the us going and for a longer time to sit in two separate rooms and all these things. We don't feel that that's the right things to us. But we are not boycotting. We are part of the Anglican Communion, and we are not breaking, we are not dividing, but we are not happy about the way we are dealing with this crisis.
I was told by sources that Rowan has been calling the Global South primates after he got notification and trying to convince you to come. Has he called you since?
No.
No?
No.
Has that called you?
No.
Let's see, I got another couple questions here and then we're all done. Has the time for a Canterbury-led communion come to an end? We no longer have the supremacy of the primates. Primates aren't allowed to make decisions because somehow Lambeth or Rowan just ignores them. None of the instruments of the unity are working. Is this just it? Are we done? What's going to happen?
All Anglicans look at Canterbury as an important historical seat, and our communion with Canterbury is because of this historical position. This is the church that really spread the Anglican church all over the world. So we respect this. We are happy to be in communion with Canterbury. And knowing that every Archbishop of Canterbury come, spend some time and leave, and another one come. So we are not having like a personal kind of communion. We are in communion with the See of Canterbury. And there is no problem with this for us. The problem is the structure of the Anglican Communion need to be reviewed in view of what's going on in the Anglican Communion, in view of the fact that the majority of Anglicans are outside Canterbury, and the majority are in the Global South, while the Global South don't have a real voice in what's going on. The primates meeting has only like a moral authority, no executive authority, and it is not really managing well. So I think there is a need to review the structure once again. The Anglican Communion Office is situated in London, and the majority of the staff are Westerners. And there is no good real communication, no participatory approach with the other provinces in a good sense. I would not say this is the end. I would say we need to review.
Yesterday you called for a reformation of the Anglican Communion.
Yes.
And at the Global South meeting, you presented a PowerPoint, a presentation on what that would look like.
I was putting a presentation on the structure of the Global South, not a break from the Anglican Communion. Some people thought that we are forming a break, or that's a breakthrough, but that's not true. What we are actually saying that in order to avoid any crisis within the Global South, we need a sound structure. For example, the primates meeting of the Global South would have a conciliar authority.
Sure.
In regarding the interpretation of the scripture. We would have a special like agreement on the essentials of faith and what we believe in, how we would proceed if there is a crisis. We need to do this in order to avoid crisis among us. But we are not a break. We are the Anglican Communion. We feel this. The people who started to innovate and bring new teaching, which is very strange and very new to the Anglican way, these are the people who actually departed from the Anglican Communion. But we will stay on because we are the Anglican Communion.
So this strengthens the Global South.
Yes.
And this strengthens movements like GAFCON and other things like that, where people have come together not to leave the communion,
Yes.
but to say we want to have a voice in the communion.
Yes. Yes.
Right. I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you.
You were so gracious. We kind of given up lunch and half our day to
Thank
get
you.
this interview.